On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we jumped right into an interview with our good friend Max Chadwick from Pro Football Focus, PFF. Gave us just some really good insight. He's a college football analyst over there from them. Gave us a bunch of really good insight on Mizzou. We're using, obviously, PFF's numbers to do our cleanup for Sunday's shows. So we had Max on, a longtime guest. He's been on a bunch of times, had a great conversation with him. He gave his take about Mizzou's early part of the season, Beau Pribula, the defense, Kevin Coleman, all across the board, gave his thoughts on what he's seen so far, what's impressed him, enlightened us a little bit with, some of the behind the PFF numbers for Mizzou. We talked some larger college football stuff as well. Do not worry. We did get to the Toni Bryant convo. That's at the end of Quick Hits. It was my best thing I learned this week. So if you want to skip to that when you get to Quick Hits, feel free. If you're looking for our take on Toni Bryant committing to Mizzou, huge addition, another 5-star in the class of 2026 for the Tigers. So we did talk about that in Quick Hits, among other things as well. And of course, we did mention this a couple of times, but the game now moved up to noon for Mizzou, Louisiana. So instead of a Louisiana preview, just because they are on paper a lower level team, I don't want to do a whole jinx here, but we instead of previewing Louisiana, had Max on to kind of give his take on the first 2 weeks of Mizzou's season. Potentially we'll have a recap on Saturday. That'll be up to Kenny and Payton. I will be out of town. So I won't be on it. If they do end up doing it, they will have a recap Saturday. Otherwise, we will just do the full recap of the game for Monday's show. So a little programming note there as well. But let's get into it. Max Chadwick interview. Great to see him again and talk with him about Mizzou and some college football. We'll dive in. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Okay, welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, September 12th, and we're rolling right into an interview with a very, very special guest, one of our favorite recurring guests, our good friend Max Chadwick. It's Kenny and I. Peyton will also probably be here. He might jump in the middle of the show. We've scrapped the formalities of interviewing with Max because he's been gracious enough to come on the show a bunch of times. We should have had you on before the season, Max, and we apologize for that. But I'm glad we can get this in just a couple weeks into Mizzou season, a couple weeks into the college football season, and kind of chat about some things and go over kind of your thoughts on the PFF side, because you of course are in charge of all of the awards, all of the accolades that PFF gives out. So thank you for that. First of all, that's definitely true. No, it's not. But Max, thank you for joining us. And if for those who have watched our show and watched our past interviews with Max, we've talked a fair amount of fast food. We did a fast food draft with him. You just told us before we came on, the Smash Burger in the Cincinnati airport's closed. What have you done to survive that?
Not a lot. I'm hanging on by a thread right now, honestly. I just looked it up on my phone. The nearest one to me in Cincinnati is 45 minutes away now. Ooh. And that is tough considering I don't have a car anymore. So maybe I'll Uber to a Smash Burger 45 minutes away. That would be pretty brutal. But yeah, it was always tough because I always loved going to the airport, getting a Smash Burger, and going on my flight to wherever I was going. Now that's done now. I think it's a new burger place that popped up exactly where it was, but I haven't tried that yet. Almost out of just respect for Smash Burger, I don't want to try this new place. But it was devastating when I found out that Smash Burger had closed in the airport, because that was really the only way I can get in Cincinnati.
And for those that don't know, when Max wasn't going on flights, he would still buy tickets and go into the airport just to get Smash Burger and then leave. You'd hear over the PA, Max Chadwick, you have 5 minutes to get to your gate, and he's just sitting at a table eating Smash Burger. This guy's dedicated.
This guy's is like a $500 fast food meal every time I do that. Yeah, exactly.
It's worth every penny. That would make $45 Uber worth it then. That's gonna be
probably, yeah, cheaper. Probably.
Well, I mean, that is a bummer. And Max, we'll have to bring back. We didn't do the fast food when we did Mount Rushmore season this summer. We didn't do a fast food one, but we'll have to bring you back in the way off season and do another one. Have to refresh it a little bit. But we thank you for coming on. We are going to talk football as well, specifically some Mizzou things. We have a couple of kind of fun just general college football questions for you too. But I think it's only fitting to start with Mizzou. 2 weeks into the season, obviously wins over Central Arkansas and Kansas. They play Louisiana this week at noon now. Apparently they moved it 3 hours up, a couple days before the game, because why the heck not? And I think it's a fitting place to start under center Max with Mizzou. And we've been kind of singing the praises of Beau Pribula. I think everyone in the Mizzou sphere has, rightfully so. He's been pretty great and as close to as good as you can get in these first 2 games. I'm kind of curious your thoughts on him when you take a step back, when you look at some of the numbers with him, with how he's graded out, as a quarterback. When you look at him, you've obviously evaluated a lot of these guys and you've looked at SEC QBs before. Obviously it's Kansas and Central Arkansas. We kind of are telling ourselves that you got to temper some expectations a little bit, but the way Pribula has looked with the eye test and the way he's graded out, does he project for you as a guy who can be, can sustain this and can be kind of this top half, upper echelon quarterback in the SEC? What's kind of your Pribula take from what you've seen so far?
I've been blown away. I mean, he currently has the highest passing grade in all of college football right now at 93.3. He's had 90-plus grades in each of his first 2 games. And I know Central Arkansas wasn't the hardest competition, but the Kansas game was a big game, right? That's the border war. It's the first border war in 14 years. So it was awesome seeing him in that kind of rivalry game go out there and play unbelievable football. And he's blown me away. He was a guy that I'm a lifelong Penn State fan, so I obviously very familiar with him. He was kind of a wildcat quarterback for Penn State, but then when Drew Aller got hurt last year against Wisconsin and Beau had to come in and play really the second half of what was a close game, he impressed me as a passer in that game. And then he goes over to Missouri. There's still question marks with him as a passer, considering he doesn't have many dropbacks because he's really only been used as a runner at Penn State. So he's a very athletic quarterback, obviously, but he has been unreal as a passer. Like I said, the highest passing grade in the country. Now, of course, in a couple of weeks when they got South Carolina on the schedule, we'll see how good of a passer he actually is. But it's hard not to be incredibly impressed by Beau Pribula through 2 weeks so far. And like I said, he's right now the highest graded passer in all of college football.
The guy on his blind side, too, Payton Green, jumping on, right when we got on, you're a little bit surprised, him moving out to left tackle was a little bit of a late call from Mizzou. But in last week against Kansas, 47 pass blocking snaps, 90.9 grade on that. I mean, can you kind of just speak to what you've kind of seen from Payton Green and just what the data kind of says about him, too?
Yeah, that was like I told you guys, I was surprised that he moved to left tackle, considering I thought he was the best left guard that we had in college football. So when I heard that he was moving to left tackle, I was a little surprised by that. But he's looked good there, honestly. And, that's the position where obviously you have maybe your best offensive lineman out there. So he's looked good out there. He had a big game against Kansas. He kind of had a rough game, I would say, against Central Arkansas, but also that was his first game playing left tackle. So it's not like you can, criticize him too much for that. But the Kansas game, he was a lot better. I think you mentioned the 90.9 pass blocking grade. That was much better than what we saw the week before. The week before against Central Arkansas, he lit up a sack and 2 pressures in that game, and a hit actually in that game too. But the Kansas game, though, he was quite literally perfect in pass protection. So that was really impressive. Run blocking is still kind of coming along for him right now. But, I mean, like I said, he was a guy that I thought going into the year was the best left guard in the country. Now he's playing left tackle for Missouri. And at least through 2 games, he's looked really solid as a pass blocker at left tackle, a really good pass blocker at that at left tackle too. So, again, a guy that I love at guard and probably will long-term be a guard in the NFL, but it is pretty cool seeing him play left tackle and kind of reminds me a little bit of Donovan Jackson last year at Ohio State, where he was playing left guard for his whole career as a great guard in college football, had to play left tackle due to injuries, and he held his own at left tackle in that playoff run and was a first-round pick really because of it. If we see Payton Green have a big year at left tackle, we could see him being a first-round pick in the NFL draft.
I really like that comp. I didn't even think about that with Jackson because I remember that was like kind of NFL teams were talking about him with that coming in, and they were like, oh, yeah, he's this really good left guard. Everyone just forgets because he had to spend a season at left tackle. And that's what made me nervous about Payton Green is I didn't want his stock to tumble because he has to adjust to a new position. But going from like you said, a rough game against Central Arkansas. The entire offensive line was pretty rough for at least most of that first half. But to go from that for Caden Green to grading out as having the best pass block grade in the country in week 2, it shows that he can hopefully adjust quickly. That's a really good comp. I didn't think about that with Donovan Jackson. On that note, too, I want to go back to Beau for a second. What are your thoughts on, they brought this up in the broadcast, you being a Penn State fan. This is just a quick one with Beau. They brought up the Joe Burrow thing where he said, I went to school at Ohio State and went to play football at LSU. I feel like Beau Pribula is kind of the same way because he still loves Penn State. And I think if he had his choice, if Aller leaves, he doesn't transfer. But, I liked that kind of comp with him, too. Obviously, if Beau Pribula's Joe Burrow, we're having different conversations in a couple of months. I'm not saying that, but I thought that was a good comparison that they made.
Yeah, I like that too. It makes sense. There are guys like that. Obviously, I remember Jalen Hurts. Obviously, spent his whole career at Alabama, then went to Oklahoma for 1 year or two. He kind of considers both of them his home. Beau obviously didn't really start at Penn State, so maybe he'll probably have fonder memories at Missouri. But yeah, I mean, he was a guy that it sucked how it had to go down last year. Him entering the portal and not being with Penn State during the entire playoff run. That's kind of how college football is nowadays, where you have to, for a quarterback especially, you have to take your spot, right? There's limited spots available for you when you enter the portal. You have to jump on it quickly. You can't wait around until late January in order to find your home. So, it sucked that he couldn't be with the team in the playoff run. He even talked in interviews talking about how much it sucked not being able to be with the team in that playoff run. Because they would have used him too. It's not like he's just a backup quarterback. He legit was used in that offense in this kind of wildcat packages. But also, I'm happy for him. He's at obviously a great home now in Missouri, and right now he is killing it at Missouri right now too. So it's cool. It's really cool to see him kind of prove a lot of people wrong as a passer this year so far.
Talking about guys that can claim a couple universities, a couple schools for different roles in their college careers. Kevin Coleman returning home. 4th team, just from what you've seen, just especially last year too, because he was in the SEC last year with Mississippi State, and he wasn't really on the best Louisville team. He played at the FCS level, I know, with Deion Sanders in his freshman year, but it feels like more eyes are on him now. He's the number 1 target for Beau Pribula. What are the numbers just like about him? And is this new? I mean, because I've just kind of comparing it to last year, it seems like he's just always kind of been this player, but he's finally really in the spotlight with Missouri.
Yeah, no, this is not really new. I liked him a lot coming out of Mississippi State, and right now he's one of the 10 highest graded receivers in all of college football. So he's been really, really good so far. He's caught 3 of his 4 contested targets, so he's really good at 50-50 situations. He forces a lot of tackles after the catch. He has 7 broken tackles on the year, which is 4th in the country for all receivers too. So he's a very dangerous player. I loved him coming out of Mississippi State, and he's only 5'11", 180, but he plays bigger than that. I thought he had a great game, obviously, this past weekend against Kansas with over 120 yards and touchdown, too. So he's, I think, really establishing himself right now as the top receiver for Missouri after obviously losing guys like Luther Burden last year and Theo Weiss last year, too. Getting a guy like Kevin Coleman was absolutely massive, and he had a really good year last year at Mississippi State with over 900 yards that year, and he could probably hit 1,000 yards the way he's going this year.
Max, as I've been here the absolute entire time, no doubt about it. I just want to switch sides of the ball, probably to the defense. That was a unit that was really, really kind of the preeminent. That was what people thought would be the strength of Mizzou this year, with bringing in Damon Wilson, just the edge rusher group in general, the D-line. I'm just curious. It's kind of been maybe the more shaky one. I guess it's 2 games, obviously, but there were some lapses in coverage, it felt like, against Kansas. So I'm just curious what's kind of standing out on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think the run defense has been pretty solid overall for Missouri. I think, they have the 13th best run defense grade so far. Josiah Trotter's been outstanding as a run defender. Some work to do as a pass rusher and coverage too, but he's been good there. So I think the run defense for Missouri is probably the best part right now. The pass rushes look pretty good too. The coverage unit, obviously, like you guys mentioned, has been up and down, but still is a top 30 coverage grade in the country. Again, it's all against Central Arkansas and Kansas, so it's hard to take many sweeping proclamations after 2 weeks of subpar play. Obviously, Kansas is a big game, so that you could glean a lot off of that game. But I would say it's so far so good for the Missouri defense, and we'll see going into future weeks. Obviously, like I mentioned before, South Carolina in a couple of weeks is a big one against the Lenora Sellers. So I like what I've seen so far from Missouri, and we'll see what happens in future weeks.
I want to go back actually to the wide receiver core for a minute, Max. I'm gonna flip flop sides of the ball. Because you obviously were a big Luther Burden guy, which is, we appreciated that when he was obviously coming up, and it has been impressive to watch this Mizzou wide receiver core kind of replace the output that him and Theo Weiss gave to this team. I think that's been big these last 2 weeks. But I want to potentially put you onto another young Mizzou wide receiver, if you don't know already, by the name of Donovan Olubade. Have you watched him at all? Did you follow his recruitment? Because this is a guy who Mizzou circles are very excited about. He made some really good catches against Kansas. I just, I'm going to just throw his name out there. But just, obviously with guys like him, you got Marquise Johnson. You already talked about Kevin Coleman Jr. Overall, how impressed are you just at how they've seemingly started to try and replace what Luther Burden and Theo Weiss gave them? Because it's obviously not going to be easy to do.
No, Olubade is a guy that's stood out for sure. He's obviously, he has like an over 80 grade so far this year, so he's been good. As like not even one of their starting receivers right now, but he's been pretty good. I've loved that Marquise Johnson is back as a part of the offense. It was very weird last year how he wasn't utilized as much as I thought he should have been as like the deep speed threat that he should have been used last year, because I think that was kind of missing in that offense, was an explosive threat downfield, and he could have provided that, and for some reason or another, he was not really used as much as he was the year before. So it's great to see him kind of reemerge as the number 2 receiver right now behind Kevin Coleman Jr. But yeah, Olubade has been a guy that's really stood out so far too. Brett Norfleet's a solid tight end, I would say too, and then Joshua Manning has been solid too. But yeah, Olubade could be a rising star, I think, for that Missouri offense.
I'll bring up something too on Donovan Olubade that you might not know this. His coach at IMG, Billy Miller, is now on staff at North Carolina. Last year, or I think it was 2022, so his sophomore year, he made a one-handed catch, very similar to the one he made on the sideline against Kansas. And Billy Miller had it put on a still. It's the only photo he had in his office, which is this big one of Donovan Olubade. I wonder if he still has it at North Carolina, because it'd be a little bit weird to have a Mizzou wide receiver there. But talking more just about this offense too, kind of a two-headed monster at running back last week. People were very surprised about Jamal Roberts really stepping up in the rush game, in the running game. What is it just about Ahmad Hardy that this transition was just seamless? I mean, coming into the year for me, I was like, maybe there'll be some hiccups going up. Of course, one of those games was an FCS opponent. Playing the Big 12, he looked like the same guy. I mean, what is it just about Ahmad Hardy as well?
I mean, yeah, he's awesome, man. I loved him at Louisiana Monroe the year before. As a true freshman, he was outstanding with over 1,300 yards. And he seems to be just as good right now in Missouri, right? He's got over 100 yards in each of his first 2 games. I've been really blown away by him. He's a forced miss tackle machine. I mean, it's so hard to bring this guy down, honestly. I've loved what I've seen from Ahmad Hardy as a guy that I expected to be really good, and he has been really good so far for Missouri. And then Jamal Roberts has looked really good too. And I always say, like, yeah, it's great to have one superstar running back, but if you could have multiple guys, that way you could have your running backs be fresh throughout the entire game. That's what you want. You, instead of having an Ashton Jeanty is obviously great, but like, you want to have multiple guys where you can rely on them. And it seems like Missouri has that with Hardy and Jamal Roberts so far too. So I love what I've seen from them. And obviously Beau Pribula can obviously get out there and scoot a little bit too as a running threat at quarterback. So yeah, that run game from Missouri makes the passing game that much more dangerous because all the play action they use too with Beau Pribula, and it opens up lanes for him to throw as a passer. So I've loved what I've seen from Ahmad Hardy, obviously, and I expected that. But Jamal Roberts has really stood out too for me, averaging over 8 yards per carry so far through 2 games. He's been looked really, really good.
We've now accepted that because in 2022, when Mizzou, of course, had Cody Schrader, 2023 rather, and he had his big year, it was every game the announcers were always bringing up, he was once a D2 running back. Now this year with Ahmad Hardy, it's that he finished 4th in broken tackles behind. It was like Scadaboo and Jeanty, and I think Jarquez Hunter. That graphic has been put up both of these 2 games. I think we've just accepted it as it's like our Clayton Kershaw, Matthew Stafford stat. It's just getting brought up every game. So it's a good player.
Max, I've listened to a couple of like when you guys talk about Mizzou on your show. Every time Mizzou comes up, Kirby Moore's name is brought up. And I think last year, obviously, I think everyone kind of agrees, step back. It was kind of weird with the Brady Cook injury. Maybe got a bit too pass happy. But in 2023, you guys both always agree that Kirby Moore was downright elite. Obviously, it's through 2 games here. But it looks like Kirby Moore has kind of bounced back more to the 2023 side. I think fans are pretty happy with him again. Just curious what you have thought from him, maybe if you caught some of the Kansas game in particular.
Yeah, he's impressed me. I thought last year was a very weird year for a number of reasons. It just felt like they weren't as explosive as the year before, and part of that was his fault too. I think it was just some of the play calling was weird. And like I said, not utilizing Marquise Johnson was weird too, considering they needed that speedy downfield threat so badly in that offense, and they just didn't use him at all. And now he's being used again. Now you got Beau Pribula playing at an elite level, which obviously Beau deserves a lot of credit for that, but also I think Kirby Moore deserves a lot of credit for getting him up to speed for a guy who has never started a game in his career until this season, really. You have Ahmad Hardy playing well. Obviously, Jamal Robertson mentioned him playing well. The receiving core looks good. Caden Green's playing great at left tackle, too. So, yeah, Kirby Moore does deserve a lot of credit for that. And obviously, again, it's 2 weeks so far, and one of those games was not a very hard game for Missouri. But I think in the future, I do have a lot more faith in Kirby Moore as an offensive play caller. After what was kind of a weird year last year, he had a great year the year before. We thought he was one of the best offensive coordinators in the country. Kind of a weird year this past season. Now he seems to be back to being one of the best play callers in the sport.
Yeah, it's exciting. Mizzou was a program that got its defensive coordinator poached for literally a record amount of money. And yeah, I think, you want to keep Kirby Moore as best kept of a secret as you can, but I think his potential is really good. Max, I've more of a general college football question for you when you look at this season, because I found it myself kind of hard when I was trying to pick who I thought would go to the playoff, kind of my list of contenders. It feels like such a weird year with the top end teams and the quarterbacks, right? Because you have this mix of these young guys like Dante Moore at Oregon. I mean, Julian Sain's a first-year starter at Ohio State. Arch Manning, of course. You got CJ Carr at Notre Dame. You have a mix of that, and then you have, your Drew Allers, your Garrett Nussmeyers, Carson Beck at Miami, who have a ton of experience, are, old guys by the standard of it. How, when you were looking at that and picking, who you thought would be a contender, just what's your kind of thought on this kind of weird QB landscape for this year, where you have this such a mix of experience, and how do you think it's going to affect the playoff and how the season could shake out? Because I think it's just a really interesting year in terms of QB experience at the top of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's not a lot of it right now. It was hard making my top 10 quarterbacks list going into the year because, like you mentioned, there's so many schools that are top-end programs, or at least we thought they were, going into the year with brand-new quarterbacks. Obviously, Ohio State with Julian Sainz, the main one. He's looked great so far. Alabama, Ty Simpson. There's been a lot of obviously ups and downs so far with Alabama, too. Arch Manning, obviously the name one is the bigger name one at Texas. But, I think it's a weird year for sure. And that's why it was very hard for me, like you, to pick my playoff teams, pick my national champion this year, because there's so much newness that we have in college football, which I think will make a really exciting year. I went into this year, I feel like I say this every year, but also I really did feel like this year was man, I have no idea what's going to happen this year. It seems like it's a very chaotic year, and week one was wild. I mean, I put out a top 25 preseason for PFF, and 3 of my top 4 teams lost in week one. So it wasn't a great look for me, but it just shows how wild and wide open this year is in college football. And I don't know what's in store for us the next few months.
I had the same thing. I bought a ton of stock in Clemson, Notre Dame, and Alabama, and they all lost. And I was just all right, well, I know absolutely nothing. So yeah, it is a chaotic year.
That's where I want to go with mine. If you're watching with us on the YouTube, you see I put up Max's tweet about when Lenore Sellers flipped from Syracuse to South Carolina. So I have a two-parter, just as my final question for you, Max. How much does this hurt when you kind of think about it, especially with probably a big year for Lenore ahead of him? And then second, did you run sprints as well after the UConn win?
I did. I was in my apartment running sprints after that game, actually. No, it sucks. He was a guy that I remember as a recruit, as a 4-star quarterback, and he decommitted and flipped, I think, on National Signing Day. I posted that as I'm still not over this. And he actually, after the game, liked the tweet too, as kind of rubbing salt in the wound. I was like, dude, it just sucks so much.
Ouch.
But he's doing great. He's doing great, man. He could be a guy who could be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft if he develops a little bit more. I think there still is a little bit too much of Anthony Richardson in his game where, he's unbelievably physically talented, but he holds onto the ball for a very long time. The accuracy sometimes comes and goes with him too. So I'm still a boom or bust player, but the boom is as big as anyone in the country. Like, you can't talk about, he has the best physical tools of any quarterback in America right now. And I think the only comparisons you can make are like Anthony Richardson and Cam Newton, honestly. Like, those are the only guys you can talk about with him, considering how just ridiculously physically talented he is. But there still is some refinement needed in his game right now. But it would have been very fun to watch him play for Syracuse football, I'll tell you that.
I got just two here that are pretty much completely unrelated to each other. For one, have you played much college football 26, and does it feel a lot worse than 25, which seems to be the consensus? And
Yeah,
two, I want to hear the answer to this. Yeah.
Yeah, I played it a little bit. I actually haven't played as much as I did last year. It just was a chaotic summer in a lot of ways for me this year, just going on trips and obviously getting work done too. So I haven't played as much, but I have heard people aren't as happy with it this year as they were with last year. So to answer your question, I have it. I played it a little bit, but a very, very small amount. Like, I don't really play video games as much as I did in the past anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, I've heard people are kind of disappointed with this year's version.
It's a bit more of a slog. And just my last question, it's more of a joke, but if you would go back to the off season, if you're James Franklin, would you let Beau Pribula walk away, knowing what you know now, or would you let him start over Drew Aller at this point?
I would not have done that. I still think I would have Drew Aller over Beau, even though Beau's looked the best of any quarterback in the country. It's a tougher conversation now than it was before, where I thought it was no question you would take Drew. But I still think Drew, overall, I would take over Beau Pribula right now. I think he's just proven more. But again, if Beau keeps his streak up in the next couple months, like, he's going to make that look really bad. And, Penn State let Will Levis walk out the door. And I know Will Levis didn't end up being very good in the NFL, but they could have started Will Levis over Sean Clifford, which I thought probably would have been an upgrade overall. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen again with Beau Pribula. So I'm just almost, as a hopeful Penn State fan, I'm hoping not, but I still think Drew Aller is like a top 10 at least quarterback in the country, probably top 5 one. I don't know if I would put Beau yet in the top 5, although the way he's playing right now, that could change very soon. Right.
Aller, I think, obviously the right answer right now, but who knows? Couple months.
Yep.
Could he have been a Tyler Warren merchant?
Could have been. He's an unreal player, man. Tyler Warren masked a lot of the issues of Penn State's offense last year, especially with the receiving core. So we'll see how they do without him this year. But I think they improved receiver in the transfer portal this year too. So hopefully that is fixed this year.
Tyler Warren might just be good for quarterbacks, whether he's getting the ball or not, because Daniel Jones looked like the best QB in the world for the Colts in Week 1. Max, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. Before we get you out of here, I will twist your arm, kind of going back to my first question. What did you end up picking for your national championship, and who do you have winning it all?
I picked Clemson, unfortunly.
Okay.
I had over Texas, I think, which again was one of my 3 teams that lost, along with Alabama. Yeah, so I've gone back to back at PFF in my career. My first 2 picks at PFF, I've gotten them both right. I don't feel great about this third one, so I was hoping for a hat trick, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. There's still a lot of time left, but they're not as screwed as some other programs. But losing to LSU is obviously not great, but it's understandable. But that game against Troy, where they looked very sluggish out the gate, I mean, they have a big one this weekend against Georgia Tech on the road. That could be a tough game for them if they don't get their act together offensively. So I'm not as confident in Clemson right now, but then again, I'm not very confident in any. If I could redo that pick right now, I don't know who I would pick, honestly, to win the national title. So I'm sticking with Clemson right now. We'll see what happens, but I'm definitely not feeling as confident after 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll have if you have some time in the deep part of the season, we'll have you on before the playoff, and when the field is set or something, we'll have you pick again. And also really appreciate the Lenora Sellers Cam Newton comp 2 weeks before Mizzou has to play that South Carolina team. That's really nice. It's really nice to hear. No, Max, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. We will have you back on. We will not wait nearly as long as we did last time, because it's always a treat.
Hell yeah, guys. Thank you.
Okay, quick hits time. Thank you again to Max for joining the program. We have Jersey of the Week. Kenny.
Don't say it like that. Oh, man. Saying program like we're the punter from the Colts.
I actually did that subconsciously. I was not even thinking, I promise. Program on the program. I promise I did not do that on purpose.
It is quick hits.
For what it's worth, Nick Saban also says it like that, and he's the greatest college football coach of all time. So
great he retired.
Program.
He wound up retiring.
I'm going to retire someday.
Dominick Giudice. We were actually kind of trying to figure out the correct way to pronounce it.
That's right.
I still said it wrong?
Giudice.
I'm
going to play the video right now.
Okay, Giudice. Okay, so my jersey of the week goes to Dominick Giudice. He received the Outland Player of the Week. Goes to the best, I think it's interior offensive lineman, if I'm not mistaken. I pulled up his PFF grades just to kind of shout out Max for coming on the show as well, because we didn't talk about him. 66.6 offensive grade, run blocking grade is 65.1, pass blocking grade is 71.2. It's all in the green range right there. He allowed 3 hurries. I saw some people say like they weren't like the best offensive grades, but definitely was an improvement from week 1. So someone saw something good in Dominick's performance.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well go into the next one because my jersey of the week is also going to be Dominick Giudice because he was just straight up named the conference, the SEC player of the week, offensive lineman of the week. It says offensive line player of the week. My apologies. Offensive lineman of the week. So clearly quite the week for the transfer from Michigan. And it's proven to be quite another good transfer portal pickup for Mizzou and Co. Or Drink and Co. rather, for Mizzou.
Yeah, him and Caden Green have both been very impressive to start.
And Keegan Trost.
And Keegan Trost. Sorry,
respect your plug and play right tackle.
That's your guy. Peyton. Keegan Trost.
Mm-hmm.
My jersey of the week. This is a not as fun, nearly as fun of one for Mizzou, but it did kind of break the news. Mizzou Hoops actually tweeted this on Thursday. My jersey of the week is going to be Trent Burns. It's not for the most fun reason though, because he's going to miss time. I think to start the season. He had surgery on his right foot, had a stress reaction. I don't know what the difference between that and a stress fracture is. I am not a doctor. I'm not going to pretend to know that. The report said it's a similar injury it was similar to the injury that forced him to miss his entire true freshman season last year. Obviously resting. He went through kind of the offseason a little bit and then got surgery. The report says he's set to be out 6 weeks before return to play protocol, which would determine a more precise timeline between a full 8 to 12 week recovery. Obviously a bummer. I mean, this is a guy, first of all, friend of the show. He came on, was a great interview, enjoyed talking to Trent. And this is someone who I've been very excited to finally watch make his debut. So it's a bummer that will be delayed a little bit further for Trent Burns for Mizzou men's basketball. But hopefully that the issue is fixed and that it doesn't flare up again, because it would certainly stink to have this continue to plague him for his young career. So yeah, some news there on the Mizzou hoops front, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy we've heard the coaching staff like rave about his entire time. And obviously just with the unique blend of just his size and like skill set, definitely someone that you would really hope would be able to kind of make a leap this year. I mean, I think Mizzou to take kind of a step forward, like just this season from last, is probably going to need someone to take a pretty big jump. Mark Mitchell and Ant Robinson are kind of, I think, your two like best players, and then there's kind of maybe a question of who can step up and be that third guy. And I think Trent Burns definitely has the ceiling to make a big leap like that, but definitely unfortunate for him to have to miss some time.
Especially when it's something they were trying to let naturally heal, and then it kind of forces you into something that needs to be corrected. Nice message, though, from Caleb Grill's mother, Lena, wishing you a successful and speedy recovery.
Oh, yeah. Very nice to see for that. Yeah, hopefully it is a speedy recovery and we can see Trent Burns, because I do think he has some really fun potential for Mizzou hoops.
Like no cap, and he's the main bird.
Up next, Shawnee's main bird of the week on the program. Kenny, your Shawnee's main bird of the week for the program.
My Shawnee's main bird of the week goes to Kirby Moore. He received SEC Coordinator of the Week from CBS Sports. I would like you guys to try to guess where I'm going to go on this rabbit hole to tell you where his bird connection is, because he never coached or played at a bird school in college.
Well, his brother
I was going to say brother,
the offensive coordinator for the Eagles.
Was, yes, but I decided not to go that way. I decided to go the college route. and take from his freshman season debut against the Bowling Green State Falcons. They went on the road, Boise State did, on September 26, 2009, and won 49-14, one reception for 9 yards against those Birds.
Wow, the evolution of Boise State as a program, having to go on the road at Bowling Green back in the day. I don't think you'd see that from Boise State anymore. Did they do? I only saw a photo of this. Was this a fake image? Did they have new helmets? Did I see that
Just for
this
1 week?
What do you guys think of those?
They're cool.
You like them?
They were a bit much.
I thought they were too much. I think I agree,
Yeah.
Peyton. I think I agree. Sorry.
I was like,
Kenny.
okay, that's a lot going on.
Yeah, they
one
suck.
helmet.
I don't know why. I said they were cool.
Make them conform.
I don't know. I don't really care about helmets.
Oh yeah, you don't care about how much their jersey numbers are.
It's not between these.
That's okay.
Not between this.
It's what happens inside the helmet. The helmet communications. Peyton, your main bird.
My main bird of the week is going to be Kirby Moore's quarterback. It's going to be Beau Pribula. Beau Pribula was named the Maxwell National Player of the Week after his absolute thrashing of the Kansas Jayhawks. That is my bird connection. That he received this award for his performance against the Kansas Jayhawks.
Where'd he go to high school? Did Bird high school?
He went to he's from Pennsylvania. I don't know where he went to high school. I
thought Kenny might have known that off the top.
York? Come on.
Okay.
Central York.
Sorry, man. I forgot the thing with him and Matt Zollers being closely linked as well. That's always cool. But no, Beau Pribula has been way more than I expected this year. I mean, the throwing was the big question with him, and he has wowed me on more than one occasion with his arm.
Very good quarterback. Very good quarterback. The hype is through the roof. They are the Panthers, by the way, Central York. So no bird connection. My main bird of the week is going to go to former Mizzou and Philadelphia Eagle, Chase Daniel. KSR reported, the report's kind of funny. He's got a nice photo here. Remember Chase Daniel, Missouri star quarterback, who was the Heisman Trophy finalist 2007. He'll be on the call for Kentucky versus Eastern Michigan on ESPNU Saturday night. I'm just kind of pointing this out because Chase had a funny quote of it related to the photo. He said, 2007, Mizzou is number one in the country. My fashion sense dead last in the country. The confidence I had wearing this skull cap could have powered Faurot Field for an entire season. That is correct, though. Kentucky Saturday night. So some good humor from the former Tiger, who I know he's been on a Mizzou broadcast for ESPN. I feel like he has. Has he not? I was pretty confident that he
I think they try to keep that away.
That would make sense.
Try
I guess
not to do that.
The only exception I can think of is Tom Hart having to call a lot of Mizzou games just because he's a really good play-by-play guy.
Well, and those are always great because whoever's on the call, because it's usually not Sunvold. Whoever does it usually with him as the color analyst always will kind of poke at him a little bit. And Tom Hart.
Yeah, Sunvold does do a lot of Mizzou games. That
right,
is true.
Sunvold is a former Mizzou guy. Guess that makes sense. It would be fun to have Chase Daniel on a Mizzou call, though. I will.
Also, shout out Chase Daniel's pregame video that they played before the border war. It was a really good video. It was pretty cool.
Very cool.
You didn't see it, Jack.
I was going to say it. I was waiting for it, Peyton. I literally said in my mind, he's going to say very cool. He didn't see it. Yeah. He didn't see it on the program. Sorry.
I was torn between that and just saying we weren't all there. Moving on, and then moving on. But I tried to be nice, which I clearly shouldn't with you.
Those that watched the game in person and are now watching this podcast will know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, all of them. All right. What'd you learn, Peyton?
Best thing I learned this week, Cody Schrader is back on an active roster. The Jacksonville Jaguars traded Tank Bigsby, who Mizzou has played before, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he was the running back for that infamous Auburn game. They traded Tank Bigsby to the Eagles and signed Cody Schrader off of the Rams practice squad. So Cody Schrader is back on an active roster. Good for Cody Schrader. Again, give him a chance. He's not going to probably disappoint.
Yeah, I feel like every Jaguars running back was like a fantasy sleeper this year. So maybe Cody Schrader will get some sort of opportunity in that 3 deep backfield with Liam Cohn. Duval. Kenny.
Duval.
What'd you learn this week?
I thought Peyton's was better.
Peyton's was better. I didn't have the tone right I'll admit.
Be nicer to Jack, please.
Wait, what? How does it go?
Make me feel bad.
Duval. I need to add that to the soundboard.
You got to do like the face too. He goes Duval. He does a
Duval. I
little-
can't. Well, he has the eyebrows. That was the whole thing, right? Where his eyebrows were.
Duval.
Jack, you don't need to add it to the soundboard. We will literally never use it.
Dress rehearsal? Big Kirko wakes up dripping like this.
Just forget some of the sounds I have on the soundboard.
That's very fitting because my best thing I learned this week goes to Armand Membu, who might be blocking for Kirko one day, just based on the quarterback play by the Jets in week 1. Armand Membu was rated the top offensive lineman, just holding down TJ Watt, not letting him in. You're watching a lot of these clips right here. I know there was a lot of Steelers fans are pointing out, different times where they avoided the right side of the field, or, he just wasn't in the best spot to really get a pass rush. But you got to give the flowers where they're due with Armand Membu. First NFL game and going up against one of the best defenders in the league. It was an incredible performance from him.
Is anybody surprised at all? Because
I can name someone who is.
Who?
I can name someone who is. I probably shouldn't call out a podcast of this size because of considering our size of our podcast. But Bill Simmons might be surprised about this.
He's not a fan of Armand Membu?
No, he did. He had a thing during the preseason because, of course, he's a Patriots fan. So someone on his timeline, he said he came across someone on his timeline who made like a compilation of bad Armand Membu plays from the preseason, and he brought it up, and he was like, that Membau guy doesn't. He's had some weird moments. I don't know if that was the right pick for the Jets or something. Like he said something like that. So.
That's not that bad.
It actually wasn't that bad, but I thought it was funny. I call him out anyway.
Well, I'm not
Oh,
surprised.
we're done for. His millions of followers are coming for us. Yeah. Nice one.
Bill
The
Simmons
program-
Doesn't say anything mean.
There's a podcast I discovered about his podcast. He has a Reddit page, and the Reddit page about his podcast has a podcast.
Bill
I like
Simmons
that.
is a very interesting person, actually. I don't even listen to his podcast or anything, and I don't read much of what he used to write, but just kind of hearing like some of the stories from back then are actually very intriguing.
He broke Ronel Blanco's debut one time that he was coming up, the Astros pitcher.
Oh,
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, he broke it, but he spelled it Robel Blanco on accident.
I wonder how that came about.
Maybe I just knew
Anyways,
his agent. or
congrats to
something.
Armand Membu.
Yeah. Big tangent there.
yeah. Sorry.
Armand Membu, 3-star that turned into a stalwart SEC lineman and is now a dominant NFL offensive lineman through 1 week.
Yeah, very, very exciting news for Armand Membu. My best thing I learned, fellas. I bet the people were wondering how long it was going to take for us to talk about this. We had the unfortunate black hole of news happen on a Monday, the day after our pod comes out, and the longest stretch between podcasts. But we never talked about Toni Bryant on this show. Obviously, the news cycle moves fast, but Mizzou has another elite recruit in the class of 2026. And I think we should obviously give that some airtime. Toni Bryant committed to Mizzou on Monday. He was on an OV over the weekend. Picked the Tigers. North Carolina State, and Arizona were his other finalists. Number 18 player in the class, number 3 power forward, number 2 player from Florida out of the on 3 and Rivals kind of consensus rankings. Out of, Kenny, I'm going to screw it up again. Zephyr Hills High School.
Yeah.
In Florida. Sorry if I butchered that. Any Zephyr Hills
No,
grads?
You're fine.
Pretty sure you
Um,
nailed it,
Oh,
actually.
okay, sweet. Well, it's the PH and the Z. It's too many confusing letters.
Hurry up, man. I'm rearing to talk about this.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I'm kind of stalling on purpose now for Payton, but this is very big news. Payton, I know you are tremendously excited about this. 2 5-star
It
recruits
is.
now set to come in. Let's talk about it, boys. Toni Bryant. big
Yes,
time
let's.
stuff.
Kenny, take that. You take that, Kenny. You always were trying to say, I hope he doesn't commit to Mizzou about Jason Crow because it would make me upset. Not only does Dennis Gates, the man himself, have 1 5-star in his back pocket, he has another one, Toni Bryant. It's so cool to see this level of recruiting. I was just enthralled when they were getting like kind of just lower end 4 stars. I mean, I don't remember exactly what Ant was rated. I think he might have even been a 3-star according to some, but that was a super exciting one. And I mean, it's just kind of built and built and built. Toni Bryant was just interesting because, I mean, he had so many OVs lined up, if I'm not mistaken, Kenny. And obviously those probably aren't happening now to be able to lock that down. I don't know how much of it had to do with it, but to have Michael Porter Jr., Kobe Brown, and so many other big Mizzou basketball figures in town this past weekend while Toni Bryant was also in town is, I think, obviously can't hurt. It's just really cool to see Mizzou be able to pull in guys like this. Now, I think consensus #1 recruiting class in the nation as of this moment, and obviously that probably won't finish there. But I mean, you never know. Mizzou's still after guys like Tristan Reed and Aiden Chronister. It could turn out to be a very, very, I hate to say this is just kind of a gap year for Mizzou basketball because they could still very easily be a tournament team. But I mean, you look at what's coming in the year after, and then you think about the fact that they haven't even gotten into the portal. It's hard not to start dreaming big in a couple of years. And I obviously am not a scout. I'm not going to break down Toni Bryant. I haven't had the opportunity to sit and kind of watch like how he plays as opposed to someone like Jason Crow. But this is super exciting, super cool for Mizzou. Just a very good weekend for Mizzou sports, as it turned out, or just a very good 3-day stretch.
Yeah, big time commitment. I think, sorry, Kenny, I cut you off. I thought you were still looking up Anthony Robinson research. Please do detail your Toni Bryant take.
Industry 3-star. I know Payton was asking. I think Rivals, or the old Rivals rankings, had him as a 4 at some point too. So I mean, it kind of fluctuated with Ant. So it wasn't really up to this level. I guess you look over the last couple of years, some other guys have trickled in with higher ratings, but you haven't seen like this kind of impact of where Toni Bryant kind of ranks along with Jason Crow. And it's different, from On3 to 247 ESPN, and the industry ranking really kind of gives you that sense of it. So really high, 4 stars, 5 stars. And it's kind of just funny when you look at it. This time last year, Mizzou was coming off 19 straight SEC losses. And now they're in a spot where they have one of the best classes, 2 years later. And I think that's a pretty impressive mark for Dennis Gates and his staff. And like you said, Payton, with a lot more official visits probably lined up for Toni Bryant, he was a guy that the talk around him was, he was going to take his time in committing to. I think that wasn't really brought up as much after he committed, is that he was a guy that was probably going to make me look into the spring, wait on it. But no, he just committed the day after, probably, had an opportunity, as decision made up that Sunday when he was in Columbia.
Big deal for Mizzou. I thought Payton was going to throw out a 2 cents there. Is that everything, Payton?
Yeah, no, I mean, we kind of, I think, hit it all.
Okay.
Take that, Kenny, though. That's my final thought. You don't
I like Toni. I talked to him in December. I thought he was very nice. He's very, very well spoken, very kind.
I don't think he's saying you're anti-Toni. I think he's saying
you're anti-Payton being happy about.
Yes, I am. I am very anti that. I had a couple of things to clean up. The Outland Trophy is best interior lineman, and for some reason, I was talking about Olubide's high school coach and the photo that he has up on his wall. I said that was the only photo he has up on his wall. I don't know if that's true. I just was saying that he does have a photo of that catch that Olubide had with one hand. Maybe he gets another one of him making the same catch against Kansas.
I like the idea of that he's a North Carolina coach that just has a photo of a current Mizzou player. That's the only one he has on his wall. Well, Payton, or I mean, Kenny, if you don't want Payton to be happy, that's a perfectly good segue into our final segment before we send it away. It's best beats of the week. NFL week 2 coming up. Week 1 already in the books. Very fun week 1. That Bills Ravens game was hella fun. Shout out to FanDuel for the lines. You can go find all sorts of NFL props and bets and things to pick over there. That is where we are making our picks. And I wrote down, or at least I thought I wrote down. Maybe I didn't. You guys might have to refresh my memory. I know I had the Raiders over the Patriots as underdogs, and I got that one right. Kenny,
I have it. I put it on the doc.
You did put it on the doc.
Yeah, our best beats doc. You had Raiders 2.5 that hit. 2.5. I had Rams -3 that hit. Payton, you had Bengals -5.5 that did not hit.
Nope. did not hit. Yeah, Bengals. Like 100 yards of offense or something? Who would have thought that? All right, well, let's see if Payton can do better in week 2, and that also is tied to his happiness. What's your best beat of the week, Mr. Payton?
I'm taking the Lions by 6.5 over the Bears.
Why?
I don't have anything else to say.
You don't.
There's nothing that needs to be said. We all saw it. We all saw what happened. We don't need to talk about it any more than that.
I wouldn't mind talking about it, but
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
yeah.
What happened?
AJ McCarthy was great.
I didn't watch it.
This one comes from our favorite TV series.
Hey, we have
The
2 more
Today
best beats to
Show.
get through, sir. You excuse me. You give me one piece of reasoning for why about the Bears.
I
before
think
we
the
move on.
Lions are a lot better than the Bears. That's why.
All right. I'll just for the sake of time, I'll let him slide for now. We're gonna come back to this. I hope the Bears beat the Lions by 14 points, just so he's wrong on the beat. Kenny, your best beat.
Best beat going against the Houston Texans again. Bucks 2.5. 2 pointers here. Good pal Brandon, who's been on the show before. Brandon Lane down there in Tampa. He's taking this one. He put a lock emoji next to it on his Twitter account today, or X account, X, the everything app. Everything happens on X, and that got me. That sold me. Bucks plus 2.5. Oh, also my second thing, our friend Zach Hernandez. I like to pick against him. Same thing with Payton. Pick against your friend's happiness.
You guys are so negative on your own teams. My favorite team had the worst loss of our 3 teams last week.
No, they didn't. No, they did not. I'm not. Shut the hell up. No, they didn't.
That was a successful rage bait. What I just did there, Kenny. That was what I just pulled off a rage bait, as the kids say. I'm going underdog again. I'm stretching it a little bit more. I am taking the Titans plus 5.5 against the Rams. I think they're going to keep that game close. I am all in on Cam Ward. I think he's going to be really good. I know there was some shakiness in week 1. I know he missed some guys.
I don't think
I don't
he
know.
completed 50% of his passes.
I don't care. I'm still holding my real estate on Cam Ward Island. I think he's going to be really good, and I think they're going to figure out this connection. And when they do, the Titans are going to win some games. I think they'll keep it close against the Rams. So, and just because I was successful with an underdog pick last week, I'm gonna stick with it. All right, there's your best beats of the week. We'll see how we do. See how Peyton's Bears do. Payton.
This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Guys, what do cows like to read?
Oh man,
they like to read a recap of Caleb Williams' completed inning.
Their dairy.
I like that answer, Kenny, but not quite.
Man, I'm gonna kick myself because there's definitely a good word in there that works with cows.
They like to read about Ben Johnson's decision to not kick the ball out of bounds.
Any other guesses, Kenny?
I don't know where he was going. Wish it was something with steer. That's always a good one to make a joke about a cow.
In that same vein.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're moo.
What do you call a group of cows?
A herd?
No.
Go ahead.
What do cows like to read? Cattle logs.
Oh, cattle. I didn't
cattle
know
logs.
Cattle. That's good.
There you go.
That's good. Well done, Payton. Maybe they like to read about how Luther Burden should get more targets in the week 2.
Yeah, maybe.
I think they like to read about those. All right, that'll do it for the unwritten rule. Thank you to Max. We'll be back. Payton and Kenny. Maybe we'll have a recap of Louisiana. Otherwise, we will just talk about that for Monday's show. Not to overlook Mizzou's next opponent, but we're kind of doing that with our recap. So we might not have an instant Saturday one, but if we do, you'll see it on the YouTube and on the spot and on the podcast platforms. If we don't, you will have our usually scheduled program on Monday. So there's a quick program note for you. Yeah, go enjoy the weekend of football. Go enjoy the Mizzou Louisiana game. I only pointed out once, noon, by the way, if you didn't see the million headlines about it. The game's at noon. It's not at 3 anymore. So don't turn on your TV at 3 because you will not see the Mizzou game. All right. That'll do it for the unwritten rule. Thank you so much for watching, listening. Go comment, subscribe, like on the YouTube. We will see you next time. I didn't close my door. That looks very strange. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye.